Hello, my name is Stephen Kirsting, and this video is going to be a fix my shot of an image submitted by Emily. And in this image we have a bra strap that got away and we need to remove that. Now a couple notes on this image and the editing I'm going to be doing. I'm on a MacBook Pro, and so the keystrokes I'm going to talk about are going to be Mac, and I'll try to include Windows shortcuts if I know them. And I normally use a tablet for editing, but for this image I'm just going to use the trackpad that's on my laptop because it's just quick and easy. With this image, because we have a hard edge between the area we want to remove and the area we want to keep, none of the heal tools are going to work well. They would tend to blur that defining line away. And I'm not going to use quick mask because for this image I just think it's too finicky. But I will cover 3 different ways of going about this, and they all use the clone tool. Now the first would be just to take the clone tool and sample and clone directly on the image. I undo that because I would never edit directly on the image, so we're going to create a new layer and we're going to do that. And I'm going to change my brush size down to something fairly hard and fairly small. And to do that, on a Mac it's Control Option and click, and then if I go left and right I change size, and up and down with the mouse or pointer I change hardness. So I'm going to put the hardness around 25%, create a small area here, and I have my flow set relatively low, which means I have to go over it several times to build it up. We're going to select an area here, and we're just going to quickly clone out these areas, this strap here. I keep resampling to make sure I get area that I want. Alright, that could be good enough, and if it's not, we can switch over to the brush. Make sure we're set to black here, because that's the color of the dress, or we could sample the dress if we wanted to. And that's the Alt key and click. Change the brush down to a small size and just paint that strap back in. Alright, and quick and dirty, that's a fix. It might be acceptable for you. To me it's a bit sloppy. And one thing with the clone tool, the harder I make it, the more detail is retained as I go around. If it's a soft edge clone stamp, the soft edges are blurrier and they will tend to make a blurrier patch that loses the texture. And if I did lose all the texture, I can come back here with a larger sample and just kind of place some texture back in there. Shift Option Command E, make those invisible. Alright, make sure we have the quick select tool selected. I'm going to go over the area that we want to remove while I'm on the base image. We'll see how that does. Looks pretty good. We'll create a new layer and we'll use the clone stamp again. Set it to large, select the area, and then we will just start cloning this out. Same flow settings and everything. Alright, and then a trick here, we can go ahead and apply a mask. With that selection, we'll unlock the mask, and that way I can, with the move tool, I can move the mask around, changing what is hidden, or I can move the stamp around separately. And a trick here, you can see how it's hard and pixelated along the edges. I can double click on the mask and I can feather the selection to make it softer, look a little more like the image as it started. That's good. And then I'll take the brush tool, switch over to black, and on the mask, painting on the mask, we will remove this hard area here to make it blend in a little nicer. Okay, and then with this one, I can go ahead and add another layer, switch the brush, default colors, make a small brush, and paint that strap in, that missing part there of the dress. And there's our second method of removing the bra strap. All right, Shift Option Command E will duplicate that and get rid of all of those. And then one more time, my preferred method for an image like this is using the pen tool. So I'm going to start a new layer again, select the pen tool, and we're going to select these areas. And if you're not familiar with the pen tool, this is something you really should get experience with. Click right here on this area, separating a line there. I'm going to click all the way over here. Click and drag to make it a curved point and drag it out to create the shape I want. Nice, smooth, continuous curve. And then holding the Option key, I'm going to move this point down in the direction where I want the next curve to go. And then I'll just click here, 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 here. And then when the little circle comes up next to the pen, that's going to complete the path. And I can right click. I can actually hit Command or Control Enter, which will turn that into a selection automatically. But I don't like that as well. So I'm going to undo that. Let me take a look here. I'm going to Command, click on the path, and then I've got this area down here I don't want. So I will find those points and remove them. Not sure what those points are doing. We're going to get rid of this point. And then we'll put that point back where it needs to be. Somehow I added an extra point in there I didn't need. All right. And now I'm going to right click in the area and click Make Selection. And the reason I prefer this over the Command Enter or Control Enter is because it allows me to feather as I make the selection. And as we look at the dress in this area, this defining line, separating line, is not terribly sharp. So we don't want our selection to be terribly sharp. And I can go in here and feather this, and I think a couple pixels should be adequate. All right, and again, we're just going to use the clone stamp tool. Select an area, and we're going to blend that in. Select over here, stamp that in. I'll select right here so I can blend in a little bit of that shadow. All right, and we will make a mask at the same time, and then we can paint on that mask with a brush, make that larger and softer, and we'll just remove this little edge down here And we have our removal, and again we will add the black edge back to the dress. And I'll put a mask on that and refine that edge right there. Actually, here's a better way of doing that. Instead of adding this mask, I'll delete that mask, Alt click on this mask, drag it up here, and then invert it. Command I inverts it. Or again, we can right click on the mask, double click on the mask, and I can invert it here with this button. All right, so I just drag this mask up here, invert it, so these two layers are hidden. Right, Shift Alt Command E to stamp all the visibles, and we'll look at the differences. All right, this is with the pen selection tool and a duplicated inverted mask. This is with the quick mask tool and a feathered, we go in here with a feathered mask layer. And then this is just stamping directly onto a new layer, stamping and painting onto a new layer. So least desirable, stamping and painting on a new layer so I can at least mask it out. Next better is a quick select, and then the best method in my opinion is with the pen tool. And if we're not completely happy with the color here of my patch, I'll bring those layers up. This is my clone area. We'll use a hue saturation adjustment. We'll clip it to the layer below so it only shows there, and I can change that color and tonality, try to get a little better blend, and I can mask that off of areas that I don't want it. Alright, there's 3 quick ways of removing a bra strap from using stamping and painting on a new layer, using a quick selection, stamping and painting on new layers, and then using the pen tool, the way I would choose to do this image. I hope that helps, and till next time, I'll see you then.